Buying or selling? Capital. Good luck to you.
Keeping it together, Bree. You're safe among friends. Never forget it. Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten eggs dropped in a vat of vinegar.
Then don't come over. Not like you're buying anything.
If I don't come visit your ton, who will?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
Your fish stinks of the void. What kind of rat would sell such filth?
The kind that don't fancy starving along with the rest of his team. It's all well and good for you with your rations. We've got to take what we can get.
Keep talking, Wolf, and you lend that fidget sawdust for myself, floor.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. How you holding up?
Not in any mood to talk about it.
Keeping it together, Bree.
What's up, Chief? Well, I think I should focus on getting this demon out of my head. And of course, I think you should help me. And if we pick up a few new sauce tricks along the way, so be it. I've got to say, I think we're onto something interesting here.
Keeping it together.
What, this old gaggle of weirdos? Oh, she's all right. A lot of bark, but I think she really cares about what we're doing. Better that than a sweetheart who'd sooner watch you walk off a cliff than shout, "Look out!" I don't know about home, but I do sort of miss the gang I travel with now and then. Crawler, Madcap, Papa Joris for sure. Musicians mostly. We all had our own stories, our own troubles, but when we were together and the music was with us, it was like none of that mattered at all. When you have people like that around you, you know, a family, even rain feels like sunshine.
Yes. Didn't you hear, Melody? We're off to find the Meister. And the Master. As such, my first priority remains to find Roost. He is the pawn that will eventually topple the king.
You're safe among friends. Never
Ha! A tale of cloaks and daggers and daredevilry. You up for it? Wonderful.
She bows with thespian flair.
Imagine a black room. It's been your room for years. You know it by touch more than sight, for it's always dark. And when I say always dark, I mean always dark. You're either in the room or in the box, for it's in the box that you travel. You're only let out at night, because you only hunt in the night. with the Master's voice in your ears urging you on. And after it's done, you lie down in the box once more, with wet hands and mad red thoughts. Sometimes it's best to let sleeping questions lie. The thing is, the box didn't break me, though I confess it taught me to hate. One night, I killed a scholar. With my needle through his fragile old skull, he fell headfirst upon his writing desk, blood mingling with spilt ink. It's when I saw the ink that timid thoughts of rebellion first bloomed. Back in my dark room, I dipped my needle that killed the scholar in his own ink and engraved his name in my skin. I'd remember him. I'd honor him with vengeance. His name was the first, but many more followed. Of course.
She bares her left arm and shows you the name. You softly run your finger across it.
Mindarin. He was Turashar, a keeper of stories. I'm sure he was loved by many. People like him, the beloved dead, they kept me going. Then, one day, it happened. A gush of wind, a sliver of light. Light! I hardly knew it for what it was. A simple oversight that comes with habit. A door, left slightly ajar. That was all I needed to feel a rush of blood, a thirst for liberation like never before. I tore at the shackles that kept me chained to the floor, iron thick as a smith's wrists. Of course they wouldn't budge, they never did before. But now that I saw the light, something welled up inside me, a raw and undeniable burst of power. The shackles broke, and next thing I knew, I was free. I stood alone outside the ruins of a fortress, snow-capped peaks all around me. But the sun, oh, the sun. I had risen as if from the grave, and she kissed me back to life. Ain't over yet, honey.
Don't come over. Not like you're buying anything.
I was given my needle by the Master. Guess I'm just sentimental like that. Fine, if it means that much to you.
She draws her needle and holds it up between thumb and index finger.
Go on. Ever so gently touch the tip.
Barely have you touched the needle's pinpoint surface when a thick droplet of blood wells up from your fingertip.
Sharp little minx, isn't she? Sebille, this needle was forged in an altogether different world. It wasn't wrought upon a crude anvil hammered into shape with rough blows. No, it was cast with demon precision. It is absolutely priceless, and it's yours. The Master's own words. And he was right. As an instrument of assassination, it's absolutely priceless. But one day soon, he'll find out just how much he overspent on his gifts for little old me. Just why this needle is a girl's best friend. One might say I'm a bit of a sucker for poetic justice.
Just when I think this land holds no more surprises, I find myself in some place even more dismal than the last. Still, at least this is an interesting variation on dismal. How many times must I tell you? I have business in the Black Pits. We should head to the excavation site there. Ah, this is perhaps the first intelligent question you have asked. After all, one should always try to learn from one's betters. My people are a race far beyond anything that exists in the world today. We seek to master the secrets of the universe. We craft wonders to last through the ages, long after your crude tools have rusted to nothing.
We're safe among friends. Never forget it.
There is a great variety among our people. Some are tall and lithe, others short and muscled. Some come in a variety of eye-catching colors. Others you can barely see at all. This is what makes you such an abomination, you see. You look almost exactly like every other lizard out there, just as every human looks like every other human. Walking through this world is as repulsively bland as staring at a wall for a century. After a while, the very sight of you disgusts me. No offense, of course. I do not know. There are rumors that some have been found at the Black Pits, an oil field on Reaper's Coast. I was trying to uncover the truth when I was waylaid by these magisters. But wherever the artifacts of my people are, I will find them. We have not simply vanished into thin air. Well, of course it is. It was crafted with care. 100% ethically harvested from mortals, too. The quality is second to none. Oh, you simply wait until the creature is dead, preferably of natural causes. Although that does limit your choices somewhat. You may end up with quite a few sagging faces. I will never understand why you have so readily accepted aging, or digestion. They are frightful pastimes. Indeed, so I gathered from your earlier prattling. I also met someone. Oh no, she was a god, by your standards. When I wore flesh, I knew her as the Lady Armadia. She was one of the 7 lords that served our king. Oh no, they're quite gone. The 7 seem to be all that remains. And they... well, I'm not sure what they are. Not quite gods, but not quite eternals. No, they are something else entirely. Naturally, they acted as any lords would. They bowed to their king and sneered at their lessers. And there was an awful lot of sneering, even back then. One can only imagine how much there is now.
You're safe among friends. Never forget.
Oh, what do you want from me? I'm not here to gossip and titter about my lords. If you wish to know what they were like, you need only to look at yourselves. Each of the races were crafted not just in the image of their gods, but in their temperament too. Vrogir was large and strong as his orcs. Zantezza quick and witty as an imp. And Rallic prone to bouts of fighting and boasting, much like every human I've ever encountered. You were crafted as an act of ego, but one can hardly hold that against the creatures. In truth, the lords never troubled themselves with too much imagination.
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget.
What would I do? Oh, dear heart, it is not a question of would. It is a question of what will I do. It is only fitting, after all. You worship the Eternals as gods. Why not follow one as divine?
If I don't come visit your tongue, who will?
The Lady Armadia has laid out the plight of the world and begged me to help fix it. It is a grave responsibility, but one that I gladly accept.
You're safe among friends. Never
Ignorant! I dare say I have a better knowledge of this world than any creature living in it. Oh, I may be missing some social mores or be unaware of what king waged which war, but why nitpick? Waiting for a letter is tedious. What I have gone through is torture. Your history is an interminably dull list of mortals that were born, achieved nothing of worth, and then died. Certainly one may have expanded his kingdom, or another invented some way of pickling fish, but what does it matter? Where will your kingdoms be in 100 years? In 1,000? They will all be dust, along with each and every one of your great heroes.
keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
Your people and nations come and go. Mayflies screaming their importance at a universe that cannot listen. But the universe is always there. The laws that govern your state change over centuries, but the laws of the world... Even when my people walked this land, a dropped apple still fell to the ground. I have yet to see the mortal king that can decree all apples must fall up from their trees, or order fire to produce cold instead of heat. No, these laws stretch to infinity. Understanding them lets you understand the world. That is knowledge worth having. Everything else is arguing over who has built the prettiest sandcastle as the waves creep closer. I fell victim to the enemy of all great minds. Fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of change. These are the things that poison civilizations. I was on the cusp of a glorious breakthrough, but my king's fear held me back. Do you know, I never thought to ask. Between him purging me and casting me into a traitor's tomb. What a foolish oversight! If only I'd had your prescience and curiosity, I could have saved myself centuries of pondering that very question.
Keeping it together, Free.
I discovered a veil hanging across the universe. A barrier of pure source.
Never forget.
It was amazing. The kind of discovery on which a civilization turns. Who knows what secrets may have been hidden behind that curtain? But my king forbade me from further investigation. I mean, yes, I suppose you could have drained the power from it, but that would have weakened it significantly. It would be quite irresponsible. After all, the power of the thing is not the point. It hid something. Who knows what that might have been? The secrets to the universe could have lain behind that curtain. But I was not given the chance to find out. Now, I fear I never will. He ceased to be my king the moment he turned on me. I did nothing wrong. All I wanted was to further the knowledge of the Eternals. Who knows? Had I been allowed to continue my studies, perhaps I could have warded off whatever catastrophe befell them.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
The skeleton stands quietly for a moment.
I'm not sure. Centuries in a tomb can warp one's memory. I remember the big things, of course. My library, my home, my king, my family. But the rest, it's all covered in a fog. And the more I see of this world, the thicker that fog seems to get. Once I would have boasted that it was the best form of government. Indeed, it was the only form of government we knew. Living forever under the rule of a wise king is one thing. But if that king should turn into a despot, if he should reject philosophy and the natural arts for the sake of power, well, I cannot imagine a worse torture. I was a scholar, researching the secrets of the universe. Had I been allowed to proceed, my people could have ascended to godhood as one. An entire race of deities, with a perfect understanding of the universe. It would have solved all of our problems. Indeed, you cannot. Nothing in this world compares to it. We crafted our homes from stone and crystal, using the power of the universe itself to keep them in place. Your people, on the other hand, seem quite content to sit about in smoky hovels, held together by straw and filth. It's a mercy I don't have a nose. I cannot imagine how you stand it. They came rather low in my life, alas. My wife and daughter always had to compete with my work for my attention, and my work was always stiff competition. They were often neglected. I wonder how many more years they spent neglected before. Well, before whatever happened, happened.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. How you holding up?
Not in any mood to talk about it.
Tell me, have you heard any news?
Nothing good. The Voidwoken are everywhere.
Oh, hey. Well, I think... and if we pick up a...
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
Joe's a good swimmer.
Look at you. You're all scaly.
The little boy looks at you. He picks his nose.
And got you a tail. That's disgusting. Don't be rude, Ben. He's a lizard. It's not his fault he's ugly. We were waiting for our friend. He went for a swim. He'll be back soon.
He went swimming all the way to Fort Happy.
For Joy?
That's what I said. Fort Joy. He's going to find his mum and bring her back. Cool. How did you know that?
Lizard, have you seen our friend Joe?
Tell them the truth about Joe. They have to grow up sometime.
The truth hurts, but they'll get over it.
Kids are resilient. Tell them the truth.
The horror grows on their little faces.
No, that's a horrible thing to say. I bet it wasn't Joe. I bet it was someone else's leg in that icky shark.
She bursts into tears, then looks from you to her and back again, then starts crying too. After a moment, the crying subsides. Ben and Harriet snuggle into you.
So where's Joe?
They look puzzled, but the little boy seems to accept the idea.
I think we should go home. Come on, Ben. Thank you, Mr. Lizard.
Bye-bye, Lizard.
They skip away, still children, but now, somehow, older than before.
It doesn't make sense. I'm missing something.
I'm Alexander. You're the sorcerer. Take that, sorcerer. Dallas, get her.
You're dead, Alexander. Alexander, you're dead. You have to stay dead until we say you're not.
Here, mister. Alexander doesn't have to stay dead, does he? Hey, are you a lizard? See? Told ya. Take that, sorcerer. Come on, Dallas, help me put a collar on her.
Turtle Johnny puts an invisible source collar on Mary Lane.
Take that, sorcerer. No more saucy sorcery for you. Alexander and Dallas safe. I hate this game.
The three kids stare at you in awe.
Crack! The source collar's broken. I'm free. How about you, Dallas? I'll kill you again, Alexander. I'm a big bad sorcerer. Woohoo!
For a moment, you watch the children play. Then you leave them to it.
Alexander the Bishop. I'll wish you good.
Hackles raised, the dog barks at the sand built up beneath the building.
You're nice, and I'm a good dog. Yes, I am. There's something not right, and that's wrong. It's under the house thing there, and it's bad. I can smell it. You be careful now. What's under there smells real bad. It smells evil.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
Startled, the guard leaps backwards and reaches for her weapon.
You shouldn't surprise me like that. Oh, I could have sliced your neck clean open. I know. But everyone's on edge here. Voidwalk and flock to these parts like crows to carrion.
She remains in place, as rigid as stone.
Is there more, lizard? Speak up, or hold your scraggy tongue.
Startled, the guard leaps backwards.
You shouldn't surprise me like that. You'll be better off. Everyone's on edge. Voidwalking and flock to these parts like crows to carrion. Would be a shame for you to avoid a Voidwalken's grasp, only for a jittery peasant to strike you down.
She remains in place, as rigid as stone.
Is there more? Speak up!
You're lucky to stand in a town protected by Magister Raymond's wisdom. Without him, the Voidwoken would have turned this slum into a charnel house. We pray he'd return soon.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten eggs dropped in a vat of vinegar.
Go in there, mister. The Meister isn't home and the Magister's locked her house up for her. They was very angry about it. They said mean things about the Meister and they left a mess, a big one. She's my friend. She was one of the Magisters once. She was very high up. She used to look for god people and help them. But then she stopped that and just stayed in the house all the time. She used to play with me. But then the Magisters took her away, they did. They took her outside the village. I'm not allowed outside the village.
She looks around theatrically to see if there's anyone listening.
When the wind blows from over the stream, I can hear the Meister. I can hear her crying.
She gives you a look of the darkest meaning. Then she takes a deep breath, puts on a happy smile, turns, and skips away. The door has been sealed shut. The Magisters have nailed a notice to the door. The notice reads, "Warning, do not enter. Crime scene. Meister Siva has been accused of conspiracy, murder, and high treason. She shall hang by the hands at the farmlands gallows until trial. Anyone found trespassing on these premises before her trial concludes shall be charged as an accomplice and will share her fate." You notice that the message is signed Magister Raymond in the name of Dallas Most Holy.
This place has seen better days.
A stone door lies flush with the floorboards. Etched whorls in the granite frame a delicate rotary dial. Gleaming under the dim light, the metallic dial almost seems to wink at you. No amount of sheer force you exert can budge the slab even a hair's breadth. The dial turns freely under your fingers. You give it a couple of spins, yet nothing happens. If this is a battle of wits, it looks like the stubborn lock's winning. The dial turns freely under your fingers. You give it a couple of spins, yet nothing happens. The dial turns freely under your fingers. The dial turns freely under your fingers.
Maybe we should find the Meister. Melody seemed to think she could help. There's one unaffected egg behind them. Perhaps there's still a chance.
not a chicky baby anymore. All gone. All gone for good.
She leaps up and grabs the egg with her foot, kicking it under her warm underbelly and settling down upon it contentedly.
Shh, little beaver baby. Mama's here, warm and here with you.
She cocks a black eye up at you and winks.
Thank you. I have something for you. Something I buried behind the coop. It's yours. It's yours. Unless some other scratchily poker found it first, of course.
What's this? I found something.
Happy little family, aren't we?
Brood an eggy baby egg.
You.
Do you even know what they've done?
Come now.
A Magister guard approaches. Behind her, on the gallows, two lizards. One in a Magister uniform hangs dead from her neck. The other hangs from her hands, still alive.
Step away from the prisoner, reptile! That's internal order business. You do well to leave it alone. Let's just say Zeus and there was of help to sorcerers and leave it at that. You're going to... What, now? She betrayed Alexander. I'd sooner die than free her. I'll regret this, I know I will. All right, I'll stand aside.
Kid Alexander, you stupid ape. Release me!
The lizard hangs from the gibbet, her face blooded and her scales discoloured. Her eyes are closed, but her tongue flickers as you approach.
Welcome to Driftwood, God-woken.
One bloody eye cracks open, glittering gold appearing from beneath the swollen lid.
Chased you all the way here from Fort Joy, did they? Very well then, cut me down. There is work to be done. Or indeed you could stand there gawping as if you were a cow ordered to dance a reel. This is a masterful performance. I would applaud it, but well.
The lizard grimaces, shifting awkwardly as she dangles.
I am in intense pain, Kin. You are either insufferably cruel or insufferably stupid. Be quick about it. Who knows when that magistrate might return? God's teeth, it feels good to move again. Now, best scurry off before that magistrate wanders back. Meet me at my home in Driftwood, and we can see what you're made of.
I bet you're the musical sort. You've thought about taking up the lute. I got a few ready to go, all freshly strung. It's like I always said, everyone's got a melody in him. You just gotta look. My brother Laszlo couldn't carry a tune in a bucket when he were a wee thing. Now, he's got the voice of an angel. He's all right then, yeah? That's Laszlo, all right. If he had the blues, you'd never know it. Nothing kept his big smile from brightening the darkness. I hate the Magisters for what they'd done. Stole me brother, stole me heart. I keep going though, hoping to get to Ark sooner than later. Lucian's Day crowds will be wanting some musical trifles. Useful? Ah, you mean deadly. Used to make bows and fletch arrows, but left that hobby behind. Maybe it's true what you say. Never seen a boy with a flute leading a line of bewitched rats, for sure. Come back later then. I need a bit of time to carve something useful.
Up ahead, paladins, famous divine protectors of arcs. I wonder what they're doing here so far from home.
Halt, traveller! Who goes there? Ha! If you're looking for adventure, east's the way to go. It's a void-woken hellhole over there, sorcerer at work. Powerful one. Of course, you could wait for the Magisters to sort them out. You'll be waiting. I dare say you have, adventurer. But I suspect you've seen nothing like what lies beyond, except maybe in your nightmares. Every time the Void-woken come, they're bigger and there's more of them. Still, you want to go east, you go east. We won't stop you.
Careful now. That's a trap.
Before you, A statue reaches her arms blind. As you step closer to the statue, you feel the most comforting warmth emanating from her, as if...
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten eggs dropped in a vat of vinegar.
Then don't come over. Not like you're buying anything.
If I don't come visit your ton, who will?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
We justice the art executes 2 dozen noblemen for insubordination.
How you holding up?
Not in any mood to talk about it.
So, have you heard any news?
Nothing good. The Voidwoken are everywhere. Thank the Divine you're here to protect us.
Yes, of course.
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten eggs dropped in a vat of vinegar.
Then don't come over. Not like you're buying anything.
If I don't come visit your ton, who will?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
Have you anything that will protect against Voidwoken?
God knows what stuff those beasts. Cold stewing.
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
Your fish stinks of the void. What kind of rat would sell such filth?
The kind that don't fancy starving along with the rest of this town. It's all well and good for you with your rations. We've got to take what we can get.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it.
Keep talking, Rolf, and you'll end up eating
You're safe
sawdust
among
on a cell
friends.
floor.
Never forget it.
Ah.
How you holding up?
Not in any mood to talk about it.
Have you anything that will protect against Voidwoken?
I've been told to say fire, cold and poison. Voidwoken. God knows what stuff those beasts. Cold stewing.
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten eggs dropped in a vat of vinegar.
Then don't come over. Not like you're buying anything.
If I don't come visit your ton, who will?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
Have you anything that will protect against bullfight?
I can torn aside fire, cold and poison. The void walking. God knows what stop those beasts. Cold stealing.
Bishop Alexander was slain by singers. Culprits in at large.
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten eggs dropped in a vat of vinegar.
Then don't come over. Not like you're buying anything. Back again, eh? It's free to look. Fair travels, friend.
Have you heard any news?
Keeping it together,
Nothing good.
Bree.
The void woken are everywhere.
I'm all right, as long as I
Thank the divine you're here to protect us.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
Buying or selling?
Yes.
Capital. Good luck to you.
Hear ye! Hear ye! Divine order to march against the ancient empire!
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
Alexander was slain by singers. Culprits in at large.
Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten eggs dropped in a vat of vinegar.
Then don't come over. Not like you're buying anything.
If I don't come visit your ton, who will?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Keeping it together, Bree.
Buying or selling? Capital. Good luck to you.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it.
Hear ye! Hear ye! Divine order to march against the ancient empire!
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten
Tell
eggs
me,
dropped in
have
a
you heard
vat of
any news?
vinegar.
Nothing good. The void woken are everywhere.
Buying anything.
Thank the divine you're
don't
here
come
to
visit
protect
your
us.
ton. Who will?
Wouldn't
you like to know?
Yes, yes, of course.
Keeping it together, Bree.
I'm all right, as long as I don't think about it too much.
You're safe among friends. never forget it.
Hear ye! Hear ye! Queen Justinia executes 24 noblemen for insubordination!
How you holding up?
Not in any mood to talk about it.
You're safe among friends. Never forget it. Smells worse over here than a dozen rotten eggs dropped in a vat of vinegar.
Then don't come over. Not like you're buying anything.
If I don't come visit your ton, who will?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Slain by seekers! Culprits still at large!
Keeping it together, Bree. You're safe among friends. Never forget it. How you holding up?
Not in any mood to talk about it.
Keeping it together, Bree. I'm all right, as long as I don't get too much. You're safe among friends. Never forget.
The Meister's back! The Meister's back! She doesn't feel like playing, but...
The Meister sits slumped in a chair, looking around the room as she works her shoulder with one hand. It looks like it was dislocated by the gallows.
Damnable red cloak baboons ransacking my wardrobes, as if I would keep ancient valuable secrets in a pile with my unmentionables.
She takes a deep breath, and with a twist, a click, and a screech of pain, she shoves her shoulder back into its socket.
I swear by the seven if we did not have more important matters to attend to.
Reaching across the table, she pulls a bowl of hot water towards her and fishes some bandages, a needle, and thread out of a box. She slowly starts to tend to her wounds.
At least the barbarians were unable to club their way into my vault, so everything you need should be safe. Apparently I had a claw in murdering their darling divine-in-waiting Alexander.
The Meister wrenches the bandage, pulling the fabric tight against her wound. She winces before tying it off in a neat knot, but you can see the red stain already spreading across the fabric.
Never mind that. That I was here the entire time. Apparently my cunning transcends time, space, and common sense.
Meister Siva freezes, her eyes locked on you, her claws mid-swipe, cutting a new stretch of bandage.
Why on earth should I have thought anything else? Not that I was sorry to hear about his death. I doubt my grin helped matters during the interrogation. Enthusiasm? On a weekday? My word. We shall begin once we have the tools we need from my vault. You may have been chosen Godwoken, but becoming divine requires more than a supernatural pat on the head. Come, Godwoken. It is time to see just how awake you are. Perhaps you have noticed. You will find it just beside the wall bed. Kindly enter the combination as I
The stone door remains just as it was when you last saw it, rigid and unmovable. Only the rotary dial crowning it can be persuaded to stir. No amount of sheer force you exert could... You take your time trying to open the lock, but to no avail. Taking your time, you carefully enter the combination. The metallic sounds of the tumblers falling within the mechanism let you know you entered the code correctly.
Excellent. Follow me. Your time is at hand, Godwoken.
Ancient ruins, weird contraptions. This place is an Arcanist's dream.
Maester is examining her wounds, prodding at this, wincing at that. Her face seems grim as she turns to you.
Do you know what it means to have the power of the divine, Godwoken? And you, in your infinite wisdom, would know what is better? You would judge your enemies without prejudice and make decisions that could hurt your own for the greater good? No. Becoming the divine means taking on the power of all the gods and the responsibility for all the races. The divine was created by the gods to shelter us from the void. The divine cannot use his power for anything else. Very well, then. Let's see if we can't snatch divinity from the jaws of the void. The ritual itself is quite simple. Drop some blackroot in the bowl, mix in a little blood, set the concoction aflame, and then inhale the smoke. Ignore any feelings of dizziness, burning in your lungs, or a dire sense of existential dread. They're all perfectly normal, although you will need to sacrifice a little sauce along the way. Everything you need is here. Ingredients in the cupboard. Sauce in the glowing fountain. Ritual in the tome by the bookcase. Even an incinerator to provide a flame.
The Maester looks back at her wounds, curiously prodding them as fresh blood oozes out, staining her claws.
Quite. Mind you, being torn asunder by a Voidwoken would be even more inconvenient. So if you wouldn't mind...
The Maester points sharply to the ingredients cupboard.
Once, although not by a Godwoken. My assistant did not believe that one had to be chosen by a god to become divine.
She waves a bandaged hand absent-mindedly, wincing slightly.
A headstrong and thoughtless girl, but the experience was... was quite educational. From observing her, I gather that the ritual involves inhaling the smoke, a lot of screaming, and a rather sudden death. And putting our faith in you is a risk Rivellon must take. If you need more detailed information about the ritual, see the tome on a plinth by the bookcase. But be quick about it. We do not have much time.
Opening the door, you see a selection of ingredients, thrown together in no particular order. After a quick rummage, you spot the blackroot, nestled between the grated dragon's tongue and Drudene oil. You gather up the blackroot, obsidian lance, and ancient bowl, and kick the door of the cupboard closed. As you suck the smoke deep into your lungs, your vision starts to swim and cloud. There is an intense pounding in your head, and you can feel the world fading. As the world fades away, you lose all sense of being grounded. You reach out, but you could feel yourself falling slowly, sinking into the depths of your own soul.
Deepest recess of my soul. But it looks like the Hall of Echoes.
Bathed in the half-light of these starless barrens, you spot a figure you could only describe as a second self. It looks haggard and weak, its very voice but a feeble echo of your own.
My chosen, come closer, so that you may see me as I truly am. Look me in the eyes.
The apparition clasps your face in its shaking hands. You suddenly feel your eyes tingle. Everything becomes brighter, sharper. Blacks and whites become glorious bursts of color, then fade back into their accustomed spectrum.
Blind eyes, shine brightly. Speak the spell, and see.
Gone is the strange mirror image of yourself. Before you stands the goddess Solstice in all her spectral glory.
You know me now, don't you? I saved you from drowning. I blessed you, made you powerful. And now I've come to seek some power in return. Your god-woken soul is my last refuge, my last bastion. May as well make the best of what you have to offer.
Solstice nourishes herself from the source that abounds in your presence. You feel it deep down inside yourself.
Ah, yes. Just what I needed. I tell you, dying just doesn't become a god. The void itself is hunting down the gods, leeching us in ways we never thought possible. Droplet by droplet, we are being drained. We're battling for our very survival. It's a battle we're losing. And should we truly lose, all will be cast into oblivion. Well, sort of. But by all means, let that be a motivator, not a cause for concern. You must realize that our fates are now as one, just as our souls are now as one. We are I. Together we are a force to be reckoned with. But if we seek to survive the onslaught of the void, we stand no chance unless we become vastly more powerful than we are now. That means there is but one place we can go. The Well of Ascension. It most certainly will be. The Well of Ascension is a lake, a pool of pure source, in which the powers of the Seven lie united. We gave them up freely to create the first divine. Each of us donated half of that which makes us gods. To bathe in the lake is to become our chosen. That is where the road to divinity leads, and you must be the first to reach it at all costs. There you touch upon the very heart of the matter. The void is stronger than ever. A new divine won't be enough. You need to go to the Well of Ascension. Not to bathe in the source of the Seven, but to take it. All of it. Only he who claims everything will be everything. The void's doom, this world's liberator. It's very simple, really. They will either bow to you or be undone. But of course, that is what they are saying to their own god woken as we speak. We both know they won't bow, just like we both know you will never bow to them. Only one can become a god strong enough to safeguard our world. One at the expense of all others. So make no mistake, my champion. Chances are the road to divinity will be paved with dead gods. Their blood on your murderous hands. But don't let that dismay you. For these sins will be washed clean by the knowledge you committed them to save all of existence. To save your kin and your loved ones and the world they live in. They will be at your mercy, which is vastly preferable to you being at theirs. Wouldn't you agree? So fret not, but revel in the promise of the lake. I will lead you there when you're ready, when you've become a true master of the source and speak the language of creation itself. Our journey will be fraught with peril. It is a pilgrimage of challenges that will require you to command source like only a god-woken can, and wield its most powerful spells.
Laughter rolls and echoes into infinity.
You flatter me, my chosen. But if all I had to do was give, you would long since have received. We are I now. The spells you need to know I will teach you when you are ready. But first you must learn to channel the source in greater volumes. That is why you need to seek masters of the source. You must make them teach you, so that you may become a master in turn. So, return to Rivellon, and seek out these sages where they dwell. Convince them to share with you their deep-seated bond with the source. Once you have, you may return to me here. Something that'll make you understand that for a god, there is precious little difference between the living and the dead. Source is. It is a constant, a subject of neither time nor transience. All of life is source, and in source it is. Immortally so. You have the vision of a god now. Eyes that can see spirits, the souls of the dead, made manifest in source. Speak the spell during your peregrinations, and you will see them. Where the dead lie, the dead linger. And so much more. But I'm no longer who I once was, bound to you as I've become. I will teach you what I can, but the knowledge that will expand the bounds of your soul, that you will have to hunt for yourself. Best of luck, my champion.
The Meister stares intently at you. Her eyes are tired and bruised, but determined.
Still alive? Gods above, there might be something to you after all.
She leans in, her bloody tongue flickering hungrily about your face.
Tell me, what did you see? What you know?
She sighs impatiently as you hack up the last of the green smoke.
You can't channel enough source? Gods be damned, why couldn't you have a nice simple problem? Finding an orc to dance the hornpipe, perhaps? I know exactly what must be done. You must find a master of source. And I could have helped you once, but no longer. The purging which the Magisters included as part of their service was quite efficient. They stripped me of my source. Not enough to silence me, but enough that I would not turn their insides to lime. Enough to sever my link to the font from which all source flows, and certainly enough that I cannot train you. So we must seek alternatives. Alas, the only source masters not yet hauled off to Fort Joy or turned into meat puppets are those too dangerous or cunning for the Magisters to contain. Sorcerers that allowed their power to corrupt them. Many are wicked, cruel, vile, and generally not good teacher material, but we may have no others to turn to. Just so, some of these are quite dark, twisted individuals. The kind of creatures that grew bored pulling their legs from spiders and so moved on to people. However, it is the path we walk, no matter what the cost. No matter what is asked of you.
The Meister doubles over in a violent coughing fit, struggling for breath. After a few moments, she regains her composure, wiping a thin smear of blood from the corner of her mouth.
No matter what is asked of you, you must learn from them. And you do not seem to be paying attention. Sorcerers, evil, controlling your source, saving Rivellon, please. Your focus, your only focus, must be on finding these masters, on finding the secrets to divinity. Nothing else matters. The Magisters have kept ledgers with all known sorcerers, especially the powerful ones not yet captured. They would be an invaluable resource, but do be careful not to get caught. I was their guest for a time, and I promise you the gallows was the most comfortable part of the experience. And if their barracks turns out to be as empty as their skulls, just try to keep an ear to the ground. There may still be powerful sorcerers hiding in these lands.
As she speaks, one of her wounds reopens, a dark red stain spreading across her tunic. She hisses in frustration and starts to bind the gash.
I wish there was more I could do, but in this condition, I would be more a hindrance than a boon. Godspeed, and remember, do whatever it takes.
Quercus, what are you looking at? Egad, stop gawking at the shield. You ought to be quite used to such journeys into that stone realm by now. Meanwhile, the acorn draws nearer. I read through some tomes I saw that cranky old lizard carry. Some fascinating leads, but nothing like the power we need to stop the Knights of Dre and their wicked plot. Our gargantuan friend is easily impressed. Wait until it learns that I'm a knight, a scholar, and a wizard capable of saving the world. No, of course it knows that already, Quercus. Yes, I'm aware it's the entire basis of our partnership. No, I most certainly do not feel the need to return the compliment. I owe our shield my life several times over. I hardly need to grovel and thank it each time. I'm sure it knows I appreciate it. Now, if you're quite finished ogling your favorite long-legged scratching post, we need to get on and save the world already.
The spirit of an elegant elven woman materializes before you. She seems surprised.
You can see me. A god woken in my presence. You honor me.
The spirit looks at you regretfully.
It is hard to hear of such power and not covet it for yourself. I lie to myself and convince myself that I am special. But I am not special. I am dead. Stay strong on your holy mission.